Well, good evening, everybody, on this wonderful Saturday evening. It's almost Sunday. How about that? Um, I always anticipate or look forward to Sundays, and on Saturday evenings in particular, this is when I'm really preparing myself, preparing mind, my heart, my spirit to roll things out on Sunday morning, to get into the house of worship and to praise God. I don't apologize for that because that's who I am. I am grateful just for the opportunity to go into the house of the Lord on Sunday mornings and just give God praise and the worship that He's due. Thank Him for allowing us to complete another week. And I hope that by now you're anticipating getting in on Sunday mornings. Marcus, good evening to you. And I hope you're having a great evening, a great Saturday on today. I want to give some people time to log on tonight and to get in and become a part of this special Mocha moment, if you will. And so if you're logging in with us right now, if you're getting on with us, why don't you text a friend, neighbor, coworker, church member, just let them know that we're on live, just sharing tonight, not getting into anything really, really deep, but just taking the time to greet some people tonight and just share a few things. Good evening to those of you that are popping in, Vonda and Will and Rochelle and Shell. I got you, Brother Will. Thank you so much for checking in and making sure that everything is well for us. Everything seems to be going pretty good. Today is going to be another kind of unique situation. I came on last night and I shared with those who had the opportunity to get on with us that right now I'm in the midst of a 30-day challenge to come on every day and to share something with you. I've been challenged to do so, and I'm taking on this challenge, and I am going to meet this challenge head on. And it'd be so nice if you all would just take this journey with me for the next 30 days. And hopefully what'll come out of this is that I'll once again get in the habit of coming on regularly. There was a time when I was coming on every day of the week, at least 5 days a week on Morning Mocha. And I'm trying to get this thing ramped back up. And if you all would be so kind to take this journey with me and help me to get reacclimated to doing what I was doing once before, I'd greatly appreciate it. We're going to be a little bit lighthearted tonight and just going to talk about a few things that's on my heart, and just want to share some things, some down to earth things with you, if you don't mind. Let me start this off by asking you a question. How many of you really, really know, believe, and understand that the life of a pastor is not as glamorous as most people really think it is? How many of you really know that? If you know that, throw something in the comment, and you can even feel free to throw in an extra comment with regards to what you have discovered in terms of the life of a pastor outside of the pulpit. Because so many times people see the pastor's pulpit demeanor, and they see the pastor in his greatest glorious moments, if you will. And people get the perception that the life of the pastor is filled with glamour and glory and glitz and all of that and high praise. And some people really just don't know. Thank you, Minister Vonda. She said, yeah, I know. Marcus, you're right. Our job is never done. The Lord is constantly using us to minister to people in various ways. It would blow some of your minds if you really had an inside look to what a pastor's life is really all about. A pastor has to smile when he may be hurting on the inside. A pastor has to deal with situations when he's carrying personal burdens himself, he, she, whatever the case may be. Um, and please, you all, I don't want you to take this session tonight or this time tonight as me complaining about my pastoral assignment. I'm really trying to kind of give you just a peep into the book I just released on this past week. I'm not just a pastor, but I'm a person. And I really trust and pray that a lot of you will take the time to purchase the book and actually read the book, because I believe the book gives a lot of great insight into what a pastor goes through. I share the pastoral experience from my own experiences. And believe you me, out of the almost 32 years now of pastoring, I've had some great, wonderful experiences. But my experiences have been met with a great deal of challenges that, you know, the average person actually would never want to have to put up with, or most people, the average member of a congregation has no idea, they have no clue what a pastor has to put up with or fight through, just to remain steady, just to remain appearing at least to be solid, appearing as though everything is okay. Now, again, I'm not sharing these things with you so you can feel sorry for pastors. And I don't think there's a pastor on the face of the earth, not one that's truly been called by God to do what they do. I don't think any of them want you to feel sorry for them. But I think most pastors would agree that they would love it if people would just understand their position, understand their calling, and understand that they're just ordinary people with unique assignments. That's all we are. We are people just like you are. The pastors are ordinary people, just like the kind of people you work with on a day-to-day basis. Again, we just have very, very unique assignments. And I share some of that in the book. Pastors go through heartaches, we go through pains, we go through difficulties, we go through disappointments. Yes, people love us. Yes, people show their love toward us. Yes, we do receive accolades of praise, but sometimes what happens behind the scenes can't nearly measure up to what happens in the public view. And if you really knew and understood some of the things that pastors go through, you would spend more time praying for your pastor. And that's one of the things I want to challenge each and every person that's on here tonight, everyone that logs on. I hope and pray that by the time I'm done here tonight, that you would make a commitment to be much more intentional about praying for your pastor. Yeah, because they definitely need your prayers. They need you to lift them up. They need for you to have their hearts and be concerned about them, just like they are concerned about you. Let me ask you this question. How many of you ever stop and consider, who does the pastor really have to go to when he's dealing with or she's dealing with troubles or situations and circumstances in their life? Who does a pastor really have? You given that much thought? I know that most of us would say, well, it would seem like a pastor could go to another pastor. And I would agree with that. But sometimes pastors can be so busy with their congregations that they don't have the space all the time to make themselves available to other pastors. And it's somewhat sad, but it's a actual fact. But if the pastor is surrounded by people who understand the pastor's assignment and understands what kind of anointing that it takes for pastors to stand strong in their assignment and to fulfill their assignment as God has called them to fulfill their assignment. If you really, really, really had a clear understanding of what that looks like, feels like, and what it requires, then you would constantly lift up the pastor in prayer. Some of the things that I talk about in my book is, and I really stress this, that there are things in my life that I have to deal with as an ordinary individual that for many years I had to struggle with balancing, because when I was brought up in ministry, when I first got into the preaching ministry, one of the things that was indoctrinated in us as young ministers is how God has called us into the ministry. And our first and primary ministry should be the church, if you will. Now, they may not have said it in those exact words, but it was strongly implied that you've got to devote yourself to ministry. Everything that you do in life has to be focused on ministry. It needs to be directed toward ministry. You have been called to serve a people. And if I was to be very, very candid about this, some of us mistranslated what was being said to us. Either we mistranslated or misinterpreted, or we may have received the very message that was being conveyed to us, but we failed to see how interpreting that message in a wrong way or without the proper balance would create other problems for us. So what am I talking about? There have been many, many pastors who were so dedicated to ministry, so entrenched in their ministry, so in love with their ministry that they unconsciously neglected their family. They unconsciously neglected themselves. Okay. And what I mean by neglected, they often found themselves caught in a pickle because if there was something going on in family, but yet something going on or pressing at the church, a lot of times the church won out, not because they didn't love their family, not because they deemed what their family was desiring at the time was insignificant, but growing up in that atmosphere where there was a constant pressure put on that pastor that they must be consistent and diligent in serving the people, that kind of pressure is tough to shake off. You don't want to disappoint your family because you definitely love your family, but at the same time, you know that you have a job to do. You have an assignment to do. And for pastors who were full-time pastors, pastoring the church was literally their livelihood. Here's what's funny. A lot of people that are in pastors' families or who are close to the pastor, and even now some of the members of the congregation feels like that when a pastor is a full-time pastor, that the pastor doesn't have a real job. It's kind of funny, but my own children used to refer to certain things like people working in the workplace or people working on jobs. And if I were to chime in, they would say, no, we're talking about people who have real jobs. And my response to my children would be, okay, so you're trying to suggest that I don't have a real job? If I don't have a real job, it's strange to me because you're living in a real house, sleeping in a real bed, eating real food, which was paid for by real money, which came through my real job, that job that I have to attend to constantly, day in, day out, hardly ever getting what we call a day off. And let me address that real quick because there were times that early on in my ministry, I didn't know what a day off was, because that was another thing that was indoctrinated into us young pastors and preachers during the time that I was coming along. There was no such thing as a day off. A pastor is constantly on call 24/7, literally 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There have been times early on, before I knew and learned better, that I would have to put a vacation on pause. Let me explain to you what I'm saying when I say put a vacation on pause. That meant that if something very pressing within the ministry occurred while I was on vacation, I have been known to leave my vacation for a moment, come back home, take care of business, and fly back to wherever I was vacationing, rejoin my family, and finish up my vacation. Case in point, years ago, we had one of the deacons of the church who had passed away after we had already planned our vacation, family vacation and everything. And this deacon had been a long time serving deacon, a wonderful deacon, one that not only whom I love dearly, but the entire congregation loved this deacon dearly. But he passed away during a time where I had already set to be on vacation with my family, and we were going with several family members. And we decided there's no way. I felt like there was no way that I could not be present to officiate over this deacon's funeral. So in the middle of the vacation, I left my family in Houston, Texas, boarded a plane, flew back to Kansas City, went to the church, officiated the funeral. After the funeral was over, I caught a late flight back to Houston, Texas, and rejoined my family. I missed a whole day, really about a day and a half from spending with my family on vacation. Thank you, Lachelle. Lachelle is affirming what I'm saying right now. She remembers that. And for those of you who may not know who Lachelle is, she's been my longtime administrative assistant for the entire 32 years that I've been pastoring now. So she remembers quite well when that happened. Now, again, I wasn't complaining. I wasn't upset, but it was something that I felt I had to do. And thank God I had a family, wife, children who were understanding enough to allow me to do so without getting upset with me, but rather being very understanding. Some of you probably would say, well, that would have just been too bad, and okay. I see where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from, but being in the position that I was in, and I was still a young pastor early in my pastoral tenure, and I'm still trying to make the best impression upon the people that I was serving. So the pressure was on me to make sure that I was present during these critical times to serve the people that God had assigned me to serve. Now, I know some of you are thinking, man, I just don't know if I would have done that. Well, that's another area that people just don't understand when it comes to a pastor with a true heart for his people. And some people don't give that enough consideration. You know, some people will say, well, it's his job, and just blow it off as though it's nothing. But it takes a real pastor who understands their calling, who loves the people of God. And for those of you that may be looking for a church home, a congregation to unite with, or whatever, let me give you this one piece of advice, if you will. If you're looking for a church, and this is not any kind of solicitation for you to come to Canaan Worship Center. If you desire to come to Canaan Worship Center, God bless you. We'd be glad to have you come share with us. But when selecting a church, you know, kind of see if you can gauge the temperature of the pastor. See what kind of heart the pastor is. See what kind of love that pastor may have. But then at the same token, if you're somewhere right now, if you're presently somewhere, I'm hoping that you view this whole thing about a pastor's assignment much differently than you have before. Pastors take a whole lot of heat. I mean, we take a great deal of heat, and those of you that may be connecting with us, who's joining us, you may not have put a comment in the chat box. If you're a pastor or even now a leader that has the responsibility of leading a great number of people, the book that I've just released, I'm quite sure it will be a blessing to you. Some of you that may not be a part of Canaan Worship Center, you may want to purchase the book and gift it to your pastor, because one of the things that it will help the pastors do, those that pick up this book and read it, they will learn something from mine own experiences, wherein they will come to, they'll become more aware of how important it is to create a balance in the life of the pastor. You got to learn how to balance both your personal life and your professional life, if you all will allow me to say it that way. But for some of you more religious and spiritual folks, maybe I need to say it like this. You need to learn how to balance your personal life and your God-given ministry. Balance is oh so very important, because when a pastor creates balance in his life, it causes him to be much more healthy, not just from a physical sense, but from a mental, emotional, and spiritual sense. I feel like that I can perform at a higher level when I'm rested and relaxed, and have had time to recuperate, when I have time to take the time to disengage from ministry and just relax and be a person. Just be an ordinary person. There are people at Canaan who are having more opportunity to see me in my natural element outside of the pulpit. And some of them are very surprised to discover how jovial I am, how laid back I am, how relatable I am. There was a time when people who were in the ministry that, for whatever reason, despised me. They put out on me that I was a person that you couldn't talk to. Yeah, that was the word put out on me for a long time. You just can't talk to him. I've been accused of going off on people, which I never do. That's not my thing. If I have to get a little animated in any kind of discussion or conversation, it's because someone has really tried my patience and pushed me to the brink, but it takes forever for me to get there. One of the things that I've been accused of more than anything by the people around me who love me and support me is that they've told me on a number of occasions, Pastor, if you have any problem, it's that you're too nice. You're too nice. You're too patient, and that's just the way I operate. That's just who I am. I'm a patient person. I love being kind. I love extending people grace. And I will say that honestly, I've had past experiences where in doing so was to my detriment. It was to my hurt because some of the people that I showed the most grace and the most patience to took my patience and the grace that I extended, my kindness, as they would say, they took my kindness for weakness. And anytime a person begins to take a pastor's kindness for weakness, man, it can leave the pastor in a world of hurt. Because let me just speak for myself. I'm the type of person that I never will publicly lash out at anyone, specifically calling anybody's name. I'm not that person. I'm not that person. It doesn't matter how bad a person on my staff or within my team may mess up. I try to handle things very privately. And even when I do it privately, I try to be very considerate of that other person's feelings because that's who I am. I'm just sharing these things just so you'll have a greater understanding of what pastors go through. And I say that because I'm not the only one who has these experiences. I'm not the only pastor that goes through these type of things or have gone through these type of things. But I just want you to know it's a reality of life for many, 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 many pastors. There are so many things that they have to endure, so many sacrifices that they have to make. But I think many of them, most of them, those pastors who truly know and believe that what they have on their life is a call of God, they would tell you that what they do is a labor of love. And again, I share a lot of these things in the book, and I hope that you'll pick it up. It's an easy read. It's an easy read. I wanted to write this book primarily. My primary purpose for writing the book, again, was to be a blessing to other pastors in that I'm hoping that they would read the book and be encouraged to start creating some balance in their lives. Let me go back to that vacation piece just for a moment, because again, for many years, I robbed myself and Lady Ann of normal vacations, enjoyable vacations, because when I would go on vacation, I would always take the church with me. Okay, what do I mean by that? I took the business of the church with me. This little device here that many of us have, it grants people too immediate of access to people. And I would take my cell phone on vacation with me, and I would answer the calls that they would come in, especially if it was from a church member or my office. And let me say this, my office only really called me if they thought it was absolutely necessary. And I would take care of business while I was on vacation. And that changed some years ago. I can recall being on vacation and my phone rang. I answered the phone, And I began to have a conversation. I don't remember exactly what the call was about, but it was church business. And I looked up and looked at my wife, and she was glaring at me, and it felt as though her stare burned a hole right through me. She said nothing, absolutely nothing, but just stared at me. Lady Ann, I know you're on here now. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I do. And once I got off the phone with her, got off the phone from my call, I kind of started trying to justify with her as to why I needed to take the calls that I took. You know, I'm the pastor. I still have to be the pastor. It doesn't matter that I'm on vacation. I got a church that I have to pastor. Lady Ann says, yes, she does. She does remember. And the more I thought about this thing, and even in my trying to justify what I was feeling in the moment and justify my reason for taking that phone call, I truly believe it was the Holy Spirit that checked my spirit and more or less let me feel what she was feeling, because that was her way of saying to me, I share you all the time with an entire congregation. And I believe there ought to be some time where it's just you and our time together should never be interrupted. She didn't really say those things, not with her mouth, but she said it with her eyes, with her body language. And she said a few things verbally. She expressed some things verbally, but the message that I received from that whole entire exchange between she and I, both the verbal and the nonverbal, is that it's just not fair, regardless as to what my pastoral assignment may be. It's not fair to her as my wife for me to constantly rob her of precious time that we could be spending together enjoying one another's company. And from that day forward, I learned how to go on vacation and be on vacation. And now when we're off on vacation, whatever happens, I say it'll be there when I get back. And if it's not there when I get back, it'll work itself out before I get back, you know. But that's the way it is. And from that, I started to create a balance in my life with regards to everything. Another example of that kind of situation is that there are times that we can be out, whether it be shopping or out to dinner, and people have come up to me and stopped me and they try to talk to me, and I will engage them and let them have as much time as they need. Now, I gotta confess, I'm still working on that, but it still was not fair to Lady Ann, and she finally got to the point where she started just speaking to the person, saying, "How you doing?" And she would leave me right there where I was. But by the time I would catch up with her, she wouldn't be all too happy once again. And while I'm thinking I'm doing the ministry thing, I had to finally come to the realization that I've got to be diligent in ministering to my wife first and foremost. So these are some things that people that are not just pastors, but leaders, people that are leaders of people can learn. You know, even if you're a supervisor on your job, you got to learn how to create balance between your professional life and your private lives. You got to know how to go home and be at home with your family. You got to learn how to leave work in the workplace. And when you come to the realization that you are not your title or your position, then I believe that you'll become so free. You'll become so free to do what you need to do and to be who you are away from the professional arena. One of the things that I love is the fact that in the past few years, um, I've been able, I've learned, and I have been able to, when I show up in a place, to show up as my authentic self. You know, this evening, our granddaughter, my little pride and joy, if y'all would allow me to say that, she went to her senior prom this evening, and we met her at the place where she was going to take her prom pictures and all of that. And, I had already had a very, very busy day doing ministry stuff. My wife and I, we attended a funeral today of some very dear friends of mine, and we wanted to be there to minister to the family in whatever way we were. And when I mean minister, just having our presence there and expressing our love toward them. And the funeral was almost 3 hours long, and it was kind of physically taxing. I was a little bit tired, but when leaving the church, we knew what our granddaughter was doing tonight. We knew that this was a special event for her, and she wanted Nana and Pawpaw there. And I refused to make any excuse with regards to, I'm just tired, and, I've got to preach tomorrow and all that. No. The Pawpaw in me said, no, I got to go see my tailor. And besides that, Nana wouldn't have been having it no way. She'd be like, okay, you can be as tired as you want to be, but you're going to drive me to where we need to meet our granddaughter and be a part of this. No, so I told the women's group last night, the VNV ministry, that I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. God has given me great wisdom, and I know what I need to do with regards to pleasing Lady Ann. And I do that because of the fact that I value family. I tell you all the time that I love Lady Ann, and I like to keep her smiling. I like to keep her happy. But then I love my grandchildren. Now, some of you all that were with me on last night, you say, well, yeah, you said that last night. Well, that message right there never gets old with me. And as long as I have life and breath in my body, I'm going to constantly proclaim my love for my family, my wife, children, and my grandchildren. But anyway, that's all I have tonight. I'm glad you all popped in on me tonight, and I hope that you'll get the book. Get the book. I'm not just a pastor. I am a person. I'm looking to get my stock in any day now. And once I receive my stock here, we'll be doing a book signing there at Canaan. And any other pastors that are viewing this post tonight, or whenever you view it, I would love to be able to come to your church and share with your leadership staff. I would love to come to your church, or if you wanted to get a group of pastors together. And I'd love to sit down and talk with pastors and help them to kind of understand how I arrived to the place where I am right now. For those of you that may be responsible for leadership teams on your job, you'd be surprised how I can help leadership teams. As a matter of fact, I've had the opportunity this past year to work with a leadership team that we did some tremendous things with this leadership team that I worked with on this past year, and I'm still connected with them and still working with them to help them to get to where they want to be and to overcome some obstacles. That's what this is all about. Shepherd One Coaching. Go to theshepherd1.com, and you can get all the information with regards to our coaching services that we have to offer. And not only do we offer group coaching, but I offer individual coaching as well. It's always wise to invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. A lot of people say, well, I'm not going to pay for information that I can get for free. Yeah, but the question is, what is that information really doing for you? And if it's free, what's the quality of the information you're receiving? I guarantee you that if I can have time with you and sit down and get to know who you are, what your goals and objectives are, and if you don't have any yet, we can help you and encourage you with regards to setting goals and objectives to get you from where you are to where you desire to be. Well, once again, as I mentioned on the front end, I'm in this 30-day challenge of coming on every day. So I'm hoping and praying that you will come along on this 30-day journey with me. Now it's 28 more days because I've completed 2, including the night. I've completed 2 days, and now we have 28 days more to go. But also, I'm going to ask you to do this. Those of you that are on our Canaan YouTube site, if you haven't already, I'm going to ask you to go to my Dr. Tony D. Cobbins YouTube channel and subscribe to that channel and turn on the notifications there, because I really want to start pushing this out through my Dr. Tony D. Cobbins YouTube channel. I'd love for you all to join me there. Those of you that have joined us on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. We appreciate you peeping in on us. And let me encourage you to get out of your bed in the morning and actually get dressed and go to church. If you're a member of Canaan Worship Center, I'm encouraging you to get out of bed in the morning, get dressed, and come to church. Come to Canaan Worship Center. To remind you, some of you may have never visited the church, and you probably assume that we're like every other church and we start at 10:30, 11 o'clock. No, we start at 9 a.m. and we start on time, promptly at 9 a.m. If I don't hear praise and worship going on promptly at 9 a.m., or at least the opening scripture and prayer, then I got to find out what's happening, because I do believe in us starting on time. And some of you might say, well, 9 o'clock is early, but think about this. You get out early as well. I guarantee you that if you come and share with us, 10:30, 10:45, we're done. We're on our way either home, or a lot of people go to brunch, or they hang around until it's time for lunch, just fellowshipping with one another. And I love the fellowship atmosphere. Canaan Worship Center is a place where you can fellowship with one another. You can meet some great people at Canaan Worship Center. But if you don't come to Canaan, go to the church of your choice. Yeah, make sure you get into the house of the Lord. Give him what he's due. He deserves our worship. He deserves our praise. Well, can't wait to see you in the morning, Canaan. And for those of you that are members of other congregations, I can't wait to see you again tomorrow evening about this same time. I'm going to be coming on in the evenings because that's most convenient for me. That's when I can be most consistent with it. And so if y'all roll with me, I'm ready to roll. Let's do this thing. And with that, I'm going to say God bless and good night.